This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. We are here in quarantine with a herd of impala. We were trying to make it to Kalahari Dam, but it seems like there are tracks of lions in this area. So we're just taking it slow to see if we can figure out which direction they went to. So my name is Eric, and behind camera this morning we have Gert. And like I was saying, we have got tracks of lions. It's a bit weird. There was a few that were coming up the road this way and tracks coming up this way. It looks like they met and lay down on the ground, and then from there can't really figure out exactly where they went. You can see, I mean, the weather has changed completely from what it was yesterday. It is grey and gloomy with thunder and lightning somewhere north of us. And so it's quite difficult because we don't have the sun casting a shadow down onto the road, which makes tracking a bit difficult sometimes. And so we're just going to take it nice and slow in this area. I think we're going to go check towards the bottom of quarantine. My original plan was to go and check Kalahari Dam, but it looks like these lions have changed our plans for us. So I might just do a nice big loop around and see if we can potentially pick up on where these tracks have gone towards. Yeah, so like I say, there's no sign of them from this point. You know, there's every chance that they would have been walking through this area looking for a potential snack. And I mean, we all know how many impalas utilize this area at night time, so it's not the best for lions because it is so open, and I think it's one of the main reasons why impalas would choose this area. But you never know, hey? I mean, the wind must have picked up sometime last night, and when the cloud cover came over, it would have been dark, which suits the lions more so than the impala. So as I'm driving, you'll see, I mean, I'm just going to take it nice and slow, like I said, and just see if we can figure out exactly, because it seems like there's at least a few individuals. There's mostly adult females that are noticed on the tracks, and obviously with all of these impalas being pretty relaxed and non-alarm calling, these lions would have passed through here at an earlier stage than we are arriving. So probably a little bit later on last night sometime. See, sometimes although the lights aren't really effective in helping us look and see the road, it just helps create a bit more of a shadow. So it does sometimes help when trying to look for tracks. So our mission for the morning is to try and follow these tracks and try and find these lions. I think let's go have a look at the weather at the different locations we have this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Look at the weather we are facing today. Copy that, Obs. Very different from what we faced yesterday, that's for sure. Wendy already had a flat tire this morning, but luckily my cameraman, who happens to be Impo today, has very big muscles. Big. I'm Lauren, but together we changed a tire and we're out, and I really don't know what we're in store for today, to be honest. There was lightning this morning when I woke up, and you know, if lightning is present, then we have to get that antenna down and power down. So that seems to have subsided, but you can see, look at those heavy, heavy clouds. The wind is strong. I left some laundry outside last night. Yes, I know. And it was blown everywhere this morning. So the weather has pretty much done a 360 from it being too hot and stifling that we almost can't breathe to this. So I don't know if we're in store for any rain. It's coming, but I don't know at what point. So I think we shall just bumble. It's cool. It's still overcast. It's good conditions, if you like, for predators to be mobile. Now, I'm still no further forward on the hyena story, I'm afraid, from yesterday. I really am not sure where that hyena was spotted, but it is believed there's a hyena stashed in a den somewhere. So everyone, just a reminder, this safari is live and interactive. You can talk to us. We're actually doing all of this for you, believe it or not. So please do send in your questions and your comments and jokes, whatever you wish, using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. And if you don't like Twitter, you can use @FC on the YouTube chat. If you also don't like that, you can head over to the WildEarth website, and as long as you've registered, you can submit your questions there. Oh, look at that. I'm feeling it. And kids, if you are watching, it is a Sunday after all, please do talk to us. You send in your questions in a little bit of a different manner, and you email them to us, and the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. What's better to do on a Sunday than watch our safaris? Okay, and Paul, let's bumble. I would like to go to Chitwa, because obviously Eric got really lucky with Kuchava yesterday, and I know the cub is there in that block. I was there the day she left it, so I think she's going to return to it, but obviously Chitwa is quite far away if the weather changes. But anyway, that's okay. We're going to keep bumbling, just check some roads, try and see if I can get it. It was just reported a hyena cub. Now, I don't know if that's a hyena cub or a hyena cub in a den. So it could just be the likes of Navella or even in Tambo just chilling outside a termite mound. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a tiny cub stashed inside the den. So I will try my best to follow up on that. I don't envision how it could be a tiny cub, at least of the Djuma clan. I mean, there's a Misikaya, as we call them here, on Nkoro, but Nkoro is very far. I don't see how one of those adults would then bring one of the cubs to Djuma. So I'm a little bit perplexed, as you can see. It was reported by the anti-poaching team, and that's why the message has sort of been relayed the long way. The anti-poaching team, they do their patrols here. They are very, very, very active here. Even when you don't see them, they're there. It's amazing. They do the most incredible work, and they see everything. They hear everything. So they, in fact, find a lot of den sites, find a lot of animals, and they are the ones that saw this hyena stashed away in a den. And of course, Aubrey knows that I love hyenas, so he wanted me to go and follow up, which is very sweet. We're going to keep bumbling west, just because I feel like it, and hopefully we're going to get lucky.
Have changed our plan ever so slightly, and that's just because we've been communicating with Aubrey and Lauren. They've also found tracks of those lions, so instead of us driving the same road that they have, we've just split off, and we now are actually doing a big loop down towards Gauri Dam. It does look like the tracks might have come from here, very close to one of the lodges. It looks like the tracks were heading straight up the road towards Quarantine when we saw them, so it looks like the track that I saw coming together might have been a female that's split off in a hunt or something. It was actually quite cool to see on the road. So I think they must have been hunting last night, because there was quite a lot of disturbances, and it looked like you could see where impalas were running. The tracks are just much deeper than usual, and then you can see like the scrape mark as they're obviously putting a lot more force into that step. And there's one particular spot on the road where an impala must have been bolting away from a lion and saw another one, because you can just see literally 4 tracks, so 2 in the front, 2 in the back, where it just slammed on brakes. So you can see the skid marks, and then probably it must have gotten away, because there's no blood or there's no sign of lions feasting. And I think, those lions, like I said, probably taking advantage. No, that's a scrubhead track. Taking advantage of this weather. We always talk about weather like this suiting predators a lot more than it does the general game species. So we are just about to get to Gowrie Dam. We'll stop here. Probably have a good look around and maybe even a listen for a few moments before we continue on, just to see if there is anything that is coming down towards the waterhole. So here we are, move forward, get into a good position, maybe just switch off and spend some time listening. We've made it to Gowrie Dam, and there is no sign of these lions yet, but there is this beautiful saddleboard stork that's here. There's a saddleboard stork and a heron. And it looked like they were both trying to escape the wind, because they were right up against the dam wall. And the wind is coming from I think it's pretty much blowing from like south to north. And so they're using the wind more of, the dam wall more of as a barrier for the wind than anything else. It's a very interesting feeding style by the saddleboard stork. It literally looks like it's just probing, and it will stick its beak into the water open. And it's very sensitive, so if it does feel anything, it will just snap shut in an instant. If you're with us the other morning, we were actually watching a grey heron hunt, and it was behaving completely differently. It was more stealthy, so it was moving very slowly, and it was just almost like in a pouncing position for a lot longer, and then it would strike out every time it had a fish swim past it. So no sounds that's telling us where these lions might be. And we obviously drove quarantine at 7:30 last night, so it is quite a big window, almost 10 hours or so for these lions to have moved past. They could have walked quite a lot further in weather like this, especially if they're looking for something to hunt, which they definitely were on quarantine. So I would imagine that they would have just kept on going and going and going until eventually they'll be successful. Yeah, Linda, I agree with you. It's really cool to watch them behave, and what I like is just watching the different behavior of the birds around the waterhole, because like I was chatting about between the heron and the stork, they both feed off of the same thing basically, but the way in which they acquire their food is very, very different. And so I guess over the years they've both found different ways of surviving and feeding, and found which ways work for them. Can actually see, I mean, it might be a bit far away. From the saddleboard stalk up and right is actually where the grey heron is now. So you can see the two of them, and they look very different. Saddleboard stalk's much bigger than the grey heron, and then obviously with that much longer beak. Yeah, but I'm getting itchy feet, and I'd love to continue on the search with these lions. Doesn't look like they are here anymore, and I'm sure this would have been a place that they would have swung past last night to drink. So I'm going to probably double back on ourselves, and from this point maybe just go and do a nice big loop back in the direction of where we first had those tracks, and see if we can narrow down which way they decided to go. This is also where that young male leopard shasha. Oh, there's two waterbuck. I had no idea we're here. If we stop, we might spook them, but they've done exactly the same thing as the storks have done. So they've come right up against the dam wall where it's nice and sheltered, and with those thick coats, let me see, with those thick coats, they're quite happy to actually put their feet in the water. I am going to move past her, shame. I think she will react, just because it is a bit of a precarious position for her, but if I drive on slowly, she might just sit and watch us. Yeah, she did react a little bit, but nothing too serious. Looks like the sun is just about to break the horizon. There's a lighter tinge on the horizon to the east, but the cloud cover is too thick, so I don't think we will be seeing the sunrise this morning. But the lighter it gets, the better it is for us to try and find these lions. So I'm also just keeping a watchful eye out for that young male leopard shasha who was seen here yesterday. I know young males tend to move around quite sporadically, but a water source like this is pretty good for them. There's the potential of lots of animals coming. There's also lots of thickets and drainage lines. It's amazing. So once we're down in here, we feel almost no wind. And then as soon as we get up onto the crest of the drainage line, you can just see the trees starting to sway from side to side as the wind affects it more. So animals in this area tend to seek refuge in those thicker areas, in those drainage lines, trying to escape from the wind. very shortly there is a small little 2-track that takes us back towards a water hole in front of one of the lodges that I think we might end up trying. The ground here is quite hard, and it's not very sandy, and I think, especially after those rains and a good day of sunshine, it almost creates like a cement-ish type of layer where it's very hard initially, and then after a couple of days it does soften up. But trying to spot the soft paw of a lion on a road like this is quite tricky. So we just try and just do loops around the area and see if we can find a better substrate that might show and display those tracks slightly better. So this road takes us straight down towards that water hole, and that's where we'll start looking for more tracks.
Here we are. We are on an expedition. This is the expeditionary force. Behind me, we have seen Tlalamba. We are very excited.
Being nominated to the top 5 and finally being here, for me it's an achievement. Tracks, I believe I did quite well, and the walk, and sometimes you often drag their feet forward. The storytelling as well, so yeah, I think that's where I see my strongest point. And then that was the opportunity of the scraping. I say the bedding and the call, definitely, for me, it was quite a big challenge. Guiding is not all about the award that we have had, but in sharing the experience and continue to do what we have passion and love.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that is truly, truly magical.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
We have had no luck on our side, I'm afraid, not even with tracks. I was trying to be brave and brave the weather, but I have now wrapped up my legs in a blankie. So I've covered most of the western boundary and no luck. So now we're going to go south to my favourite boundary line. Gowrie, I absolutely love it down that way. And I believe that's where it said hyena den was seen. It was reported either north of Treehouse or north of Twin. Those dams are quite far apart, but they're not similar. Just want to check this junction for tracks. Hukamuri's Junction. We should name this Hukamuri's Junction in memory of Hook. nada, nothing. Well, impala, yes, but that's about it. Predators will absolutely utilize this water. Hyena, hyena, hyena. Hyena tracks can throw you from a distance. Maybe wild dogs will surprise us. Maybe. Maybe anything can surprise you, really. That's what I love about driving out here. Literally anything can be around the next corner. Anything. Sometimes not, sometimes nothing. But otherwise, you never know what you're going to see. Unless you're following tracks and you're onto something, I think anything could be around the next corner. And in low light conditions like this, you probably should drive slowly so that you're taking everything in. It's very dark here compared to a nice sunny morning. It's really, really difficult to see tracks. One thing I do love about winter is you can see all the trees for miles. All the barren trees, which mean if there really is a leopard in the tree that they kill, you'll see it. Absolutely. You just see it from miles away. But that's all about to change very shortly. I think it's going to get very thick very fast here. I'll miss the winter landscape. I love the summer landscape, but I absolutely will miss the winter landscape 100%. There's something quite special about the winter landscape. It's monotonous. The color palette is not exactly very enticing, but there's something very, very special about it. Splashes of green, but otherwise very grey, very yellow. We'll stop down here and give you a view. We're on Zoe's Road. It's quite an iconic road in this reserve, but really it's not been productive, at least for me, of late. Things have shifted and Zoe's Road has been abandoned. Okay, we're going to keep bumbling south for now. Hoping that we can pick up signs of someone very soon.
We're still looking for tracks of these lions. We're actually now where those buffaloes were a few days ago. and so we're just going to start heading more south. I think the tracks, they definitely didn't come anywhere north. We would have seen the tracks in one or two of the sandy patches that we drove past. So now we're just heading down into the southern part of Djuma to see if we can find any more sign of them. It's crazy how the weather changes at this time of year, because I mean it was a beautiful summer's day yesterday. Temperatures I think got to close to 30-35 degrees, somewhere there, and now it's overcast and it's not too cold. At least I think it must be in the mid-teens for now, with a nice strong breeze. So it does look like... okay. So I've just got the call on the radio from Aubrey, who's also helping us look for those lions that they've unfortunately crossed over the boundary in an easterly direction. So I think that changes our plan slightly. We are heading down into the southern part of the reserve, so we might as well just keep going that way and see what else we can find. There's obviously the option of us going towards a couple of the waterholes around this area, which we have been checking a lot recently, and at this time of morning probably not the best bet. So what we might just do is do a loop. I don't know, we maybe go south and then head back west. So that's, I mean, it's with the wind direction this morning, it is blowing in the direction that the lions were walking towards. So they would have been walking into the wind, looking for something to hunt. So I'm actually not quite surprised that they have crossed out of the property already. But that's okay. It gives us another option to go and explore. And like I say, we're gonna probably just try and get to the southern part of the reserve and then double back west and see if there are any signs of anything else. A few days ago on Buffalo's Hook there were reports of the pack of wild dogs that were around there, and no one found them yesterday, so that could also be an option for us. Andy, my favorite thing about being a guide, I think, is being able to work outside on a daily basis. You know, I think it's something that I've always wanted to do as a kid. I really didn't want to sit in a cubicle in an office and work out of a big concrete building. And so being outside, wearing shorts almost on a daily basis, except when it's cold, is awesome. And then the added bonus is spending time with these animals. And it's really cool to see an animal develop and grow into its own. So watching a pride of lions with cubs and watching those cubs grow up to become adults, it's quite amazing, because you sit and you watch an animal and you kind of get used to the size of it, and then you flip through old photographs of when it was a cub and you actually can't believe that it's the same individual as what you are looking at now. They are so small and vulnerable when they're young, and they're just really cool to be able to watch an animal flourish like that. So there are tracks on the road over here, but this is all from hyena going up and down. There's a red-crested Koran calling. WildEarth, you've got a question about which predators you shouldn't look in the eyes, and I don't think there's too much to it. I think where that applies more is when you're on foot, I guess, and particularly with leopards. So if you're tracking leopards, what they'll occasionally do is just completely rely on. So they'll be lying in a thicket, and you might be walking along and you've lost the tracks, and sometimes you'll almost be on top of them and sitting watching you, and the moment that they know you them, so that's when you make eye contact, is when they react. And sometimes you can be walking, and if you spot the tail or spot the back of the leg, something like that, it's very hard to fight, because I mean, and your instinct is for you to follow up and see and look and make eye contact with the leopard, but it's one of the things that you actually don't want to do. So you see it, and then you immediately back away, and then 9 times out of 10 it will be almost in exactly the same spot when you come back in the vehicle. But otherwise, I mean, the cats around the Sabi sands have become so habituated to people in a vehicle and vehicles itself that they don't really pay attention to you. So you can look at a predator, and it does seem like they're piercing into your soul when you make eye contact with them. But a lot of the time, I mean, I think most of the time, they don't even react to making eye contact. A really nice big clearing that we're coming into now, with no animals in sight. I suppose it is one of the first times this morning that we have had the opportunity to get slightly higher up with a bit of elevation. So just to scan through this area to see if we can see anything. And very soon this privilege is going to be pretty much taken away from us, because all of these trees are going to grow their leaves, and we won't be able to see as much and as far into the bush as we can now. So we need to take advantage of these moments to scan when we get the opportunity. So whilst Gert and I do that, let's send you across to Lauren and see what she's up to.
We are still searching, and it may look like I am very cold, and I am cold, but I like that. Once you put on the layers and you snuggle up, you start to feel a bit warm and cozy and sleepy. I like the freshness of that wind hitting your face, your arms, and you just feel the air. So even though it looks like I'm cold, my jacket is here. I just love that sort of fresh feeling. Keeps you nice and awake, alert. I love it. A lot of the boys go, I mean, I am Scottish after all. I guess it's in the blood to like cold weather. Okay, so I have skittied along Gowrie Main just in case I can see any termite mounds with any sort of action. But no luck so far. Do you hear something on the Ngala, which obviously means lions. But our eastern channel is... The eastern channel is analog. The northern channel is digital. What that means is obviously in the northern channel we can all copy each other. We're all on the same loop. But when we switch over to the eastern channel, it's analog, which means we only pick up clear communications when we're in close proximity to another eastern channel vehicle. So it's a little bit tricky is the essence of what I'm trying to say. You can hear bitch, you can hear Kalamati and Ngala, east. That's the kind of comms we get. But once we get closer and we become much closer to the area, then we can pick it up a lot clearer. So long story short, I'm heading in that direction a little bit further east to see exactly what's going on. Linma, you're asking, are there less jackal compared to another area or compared to before? Not entirely sure what you want me to make that comparison to, but there are jackal here. Black back stripe, I've seen these, and but you're right, we don't see them too often. In the Masai Mara, you see lots of jackal. Again, different habitat type, my goodness, and different ecosystem, but absolutely we do get jackal here. Sometimes we see them. There was a den for a while up in the Mangaletti, up in that boundary line, and we used to be able to traverse there, which was really incredible. But sadly, we don't always see them, and you've got to remember different habitat and also very, very high predator density in a small area here. Although we don't always see them and we don't always find them. Leopards, lions, dogs, even hyenas, cheetah. Within the northern sector of the Sabi Sands, the predator density is very, very high. But yes, we do get jackal. We've had some nice sightings with jackal here, actually, and I love jackals. I wish we had a den here that we could really follow. Hello, Impala. How has your morning been? Have you experienced anything this morning? You can see how swollen and full and pregnant most of the ewes are. It won't be all, but it will be at least 90%. And that doesn't mean all the birds are going to be successful, but a lot of the ewes are just so pregnant. It's beautiful to see. Getting ready to flood that market soon with all their little lambs. And look, they're on the fire break, Gary Main. So they're staying in a very, very open area. You can see all the way along Gary Main, they're also getting the chance to eat the wonderful new grass that's shooting up from the rains, which will be very nutritious and delicious, full of moisture. And they can see and hear anything that's sneaking up on them in today's weather conditions. So it's a smart move, guys. I think because impala are the chosen prey of many of the predators, it's sort of a misconception that, how can I word it? I guess it's a misconception that they're just the prey. They're just the prey species, when actually that's not how you should view them at all. They're absolute survivors. Completely and utterly expert survivors in terms of the way that they feed, in their social structure, in everything they do. And I think it's important, just because we see them in a tree with a leopard on top, or we see lions on top of them, we just kind of forget to actually see them for who they are, and they are incredible antelope. I mean, they do say that impalas have remained unchanged as a species for over 1 million years. They are just successful. They make use of lots of habitats when feeding, so they're not specialized, they're not specific, they're not limiting themselves. And their breeding strategy also allows for around about a 50% success rate. Now, that might not sound much, but if you think of the cub mortality rate in the cats, it's also around 50%. Nancy, I can honestly say I've never counted an impala herd. I am honestly really not sure. Hello, guys. The numbers. It would be here in the Sabi sands. I'm going to guess maybe 30, 40. But I'm not actually sure, Nancy, of the biggest herd I've ever seen. Because they can all group together, especially when the weather conditions get bad, and just all stick together in an open area. There can also be two different herds merging. They're nervous, look, the wind is strong. Is really picked up now. I mean, they're used to wind. It's not that they're sort of paralyzed with fear right now. Lizzie, I'm honestly not sure of the percentage to old age. So 50% survival rate of the lambs. But I'm really not sure of the percentage to old age. I think it depends on so many factors as well. But they are termed the buffer species in ecology. So they absolutely are the chosen ones of all the predators. Really not sure of the percentage. They are successful though. Naturally have a short lifespan. They're a very successful species to be admired, really. So you can see if you just zoom out a little bit, BK, 3 of them have got their head down and one at the back has got their head up. See that? One is looking out. One is always looking out. Anna Marie, you can't wait to see the lambs, I know. I asked that question the other day, and I think it was around the 4th of November last year. So that's not too far away if you think about it. I will still be here then. This actually is my last stint with WildEarth, but it's a long one. It's a very, very long one. So I'm really hoping on my list, lambs, woodland kingfisher, and spotted eagle owl chicks, or chick, but hopefully chicks. And I'm really hoping that I can really spend some time with them all. But Anna Marie, you're right, lambs are going to be bouncing around really soon. And once you see one, everybody, we compete, well, we used to, and who can find the first lamb? Very competitive. And once you see one, once you first find that one, then they're everywhere, really, one by one. And that's what it's all about, flooding the market technique. It's intentional within their social structure. It's almost like a domino effect. Once the first ewe gives birth, it just does not stop. And what it really means is, if the ewes just dropped lambs throughout the year and it wasn't synchronized and it wasn't sort of timed in any way, shape or form, the success rate would be a lot lower of the lambs, because let's just say one of these ewes was given birth right now, a predator could come along and of course that lamb would be easy pickings. Then the next ewe tomorrow, another predator could come along, easy pickings. But the fact that they all come along at once, the predators can't possibly finish them all off. And I know that doesn't sound very nice, talking about them like a commodity. It's not possible for the predators to deplete the entire lamb population when they're all there at once. Yes, will absolutely be a buffet for them all, but naturally, flooding the market means that the predators will not eat all the lambs, and that's why they say it's about 50% success rate. But obviously that's an average figure, and it's just a lot better happening that way than the ewes dropping lambs all the way throughout the year. So I really, really hope I'm here to start to see that. To put my jacket on after all, but we're going to continue bumbling and see what we can find.
If you are a Wild Earth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021. And you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Civilized to just found some black rhino tracks, a mother with a calf. The calf tracks are so small. They're somewhere here in this area, but it's too dense to walk this way. So we're gonna walk around where it's not so dense. Let's hope we get lucky.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward and deposit the scent mark, which is what they use to patrol their territory.
We managed to get a glimpse of the black rhino, but for safety reasons, of course, we held back and we walked a different way, but it was such a fantastic experience. We didn't just focus on the big things, because it's not all about the big things. We focused on army ants and lots of dung. Civilized did an incredible job, but it's up to the judges now.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Alright, let's leave these virtual starlings. They are going to carry on doing what they're doing. So I think we'll go elsewhere and look for something else. Anna Marie, I mean, it's the rarest bird that I've ever seen. So we get these things, you get migrants, which are birds that head roughly in a north to south direction. And those are the ones that we see every year. And then we get a bird called a vagrant, which is a bird that has got its wires crossed and has gotten lost, and it's basically just arrived into an area where it historically has never been. And I've seen two ones. So when I was first training at Phinda about 7 years ago, we managed to see a European turtle dove that was, I think it was like the third or the fourth ever recorded record in Southern Africa. And still, whilst I was at Phinda, there was a Malagasy pond heron, and so its normal migratory route is from Madagascar across Africa into East Africa. So you see them around Kenya and Tanzania. But this one, again, got lost and it found its way into Phinda, and it was the first time, I think it was this first or second photographic recording of the Malagasy pond heron in Southern Africa. I'm sure birds like that are often overlooked. I'm sure there tend to be quite a lot more around these areas, especially with the weather patterns changing. They just pop up in random places, but there's just not enough birders to cover every inch of the country. But I'm sure there's more that often get overlooked. There's actually quite a nice view of a red-crested koran there. And when we were driving on Chitwa yesterday, we saw two males doing their display calls. And see, this one has actually puffed itself up quite nicely. It's on a slight little point of elevation, so it looks like an old termite mound. And it will just be calling, displaying, so marking its territory, chasing away other males, and then also hopefully displaying for females. And so the wind is blowing from us to him, so when he does call, it might push his call and his volume away from us. It'd be quite incredible to get that display on camera. And what they do is they almost take like a run-up. They take off and they go about 15 meters up into the sky, so they fly vertically up. And then when they get to that point, so watch him. So that's actually his beak snapping together. He's not looking too impressed with this weather. He's got his neck tucked into his body, all fluffed up. And one thing that amazes me, I mean, he's called a red-crested koran, and out of all the korans I think I've ever seen their red crest about maybe once or twice before. You don't see it very often, and you see it when they are displaying, but it's hidden by the grey. So he's just gotten a response from another male, so I think he might call again. So as it's coming into breeding season, he'll be looking for a prime spot to call his own. And he'll be doing exactly this pretty much throughout the whole season until he does attract females into his area. He basically keeps the spot, and and they'll often go for like the prime area, so the places that will attract more and more females. And it's not only with birds that do this. I mean, mammals do it too. They find a good area where there's a strong possibility of females coming in, which increases their chances of mating, and they'll actively protect that area, so they can get very defensive over it. He is starting to feel very sorry for himself, and I'm sure he's feeling quite cold there. But it's quite a nice view of them, because a lot of the time you're just looking at his back, where it's pretty much exactly the same color as its surroundings. So when they need to hide, they can just hide that black and white on the ground, and then they can just, from the top of their body, they can just blend in with their surroundings much better. So it's nice to see the black and white of this bird. Yeah, so there's another, I can hear in the distance the bull snapping of the call, and that's the wind up. It was actually him calling. I thought it was another one. And now that we're looking at him now, so he's got that black belly, which the females do have too, but their black stops at the breast. These male Korans, the black goes all the way up pretty much to the top of their throat. See, so as he turns, that's the typical color that we usually see the Korans, the very brown, mottled back. It's really nice to see the black and white of the chest. It's good to hear them calling. I mean, it's a sign of the animals also noticing and picking up the change in weather, so they are feeling that it's coming into summertime, so they need to start displaying to try and attract those females, like I was saying a bit earlier. And he doesn't seem to be moving anywhere, and in this wind I doubt he'll do that display of theirs that they're so famous for. So we might as well just keep on going a bit. There's a herd of impala that's just up ahead of us that we can quickly go and have a look at before we move out of the area. I definitely enjoy birds. I wouldn't say I'm like an avid birder, but I really do, when I see a nice bird, I really do appreciate it. I'm not going to go out of my way to go searching for rare and obscure birds, but I really enjoy traveling, and when you travel to different areas, you see different habitats, and you see different birds. So when we move into new areas, it's always nice to bring a pair of binoculars with us, just to see, but we don't go out of our way particularly to go and look for birds. This is that herd of impala that I was mentioning, and you see if all of them have got horns. So it's a bachelor group, and they're almost at the opposite end of their mating cycle to these red-crested korans. So red-crested korans are coming into their breeding season, so they will be highly competitive with other males, whereas impalas have already experienced that towards the beginning of the year. So they went through the rutting season where all of their females were coming into estrus, and so they also had to protect a place and a temporary territory for them to try and attract females into. Now, however, there's no females that are in estrus, and like Lauren was saying, the majority of the females are already pregnant from males like this. So there's really no point in competing against one another. So they don't need to hold territories throughout the year. So grouping together like this just increases their chances of spotting any potential predators in the area. So the more the merrier, and you'll often find not only bachelor groups like this, but you'll also see big amount of males within the female groups, which at different times of the year wouldn't even happen. Out of all of the mammals or all of the antelope species in the area, I'd say impalas go through the most drastic changes behaviorally. Like now they're all mates and having a good time and helping each other out. But they can, when they need to, they can really be aggressive with one another, and it's not uncommon for us to see impala males with horns that have completely been fallen off. So you'll see like one horn and half a horn, and that's from fighting other males. And those horns are strong and sharp, so if the losing one happens to get pierced, a lot of the time they will succumb to their injuries. And then the females, I mean, it's now getting to that point where they're all pregnant, like we were saying, and so they will drop those lambs very soon. I'm quite surprised in these windy conditions how they are behaving, because they've all got their heads low down to the ground, and we always talk about how these impalas and other prey species feel very vulnerable in the wind. So what usually happens, and I suppose it is happening now more, but they'll see them feeding, and they'll be feeding for a short amount of time, and then their head comes up and they look around. And I guess it might be a bit different with the females because they feel a bit more vulnerable. But you'll often see, like, you know, if there's a herd like this, there'll be at least 2 or 3 heads that are up, even if it's just momentarily to look around. Whereas these impalas are just enjoying the nice green growth of the grass, and they are munching away. It's about time, I think, that we move on from here, so we'll let these impalas be and go try find something else.
We are just sitting at a dam. Now, unfortunately, we really want to give you beautiful views. Well, we can give you beautiful views, but the wind is picked up at tenfold. So it may be slightly windy, I'm afraid. But I hope you can still hear the birds and all the wonderful calls and all the sounds and movements around the dam. Lapwing. It's my favourite thing to do, although it is windy, to just sit and listen. I'm just going to sit here for a moment or two and do exactly that. cold looking, that's because it is, but still absolutely gorgeous. Now the wind is pretty strong up on the dam wall, I'm afraid. It's where you get the best views, but it's also where you get wind. And I've put my jacket on, everyone. I can no longer handle the freshness that I said I loved. I eat my words live on TV. We're actually in a lineup, and Kahumas are here. Not the mothers with the cubs, but the others. Not the mothers, but the others. The rest of the sort of group, the pride, sorry, are here. So we're in a lineup for that, which means if it does get too windy, we'll just move off the dam wall. But for now, it's just beautiful to sit here, and even although the water looks so uninviting, really, it still holds beauty. You can still hear all the birds and see all the activity. And the lion activity on Chitwa has really been quite something the past few days, from having the 3 moms with all the 7 cubs. Now we've got the rest of them. That's why we're not finding Tandy and Mareebs. I can assure you, there most definitely will be in Torchwood if the lions are here. But there's a hippo coming out of the water. You can see how shallow the water is. That actually gives you a really perfect visual. A lot of people think that the water is extremely deep and the hippos are swimming. They're not at all. You can see how shallow it is. Naturally, it'll be a little bit deeper as you go further in.
Yeah, and I don't go far, also gonna make space for you. They just run around now playing, so it's very much, but yeah, I'll make space. What do you think?
Sorry, I'm just keeping my ear on the radio. Oh, Impo, look! On the dam wall, my goodness, that's something you don't see every day. I can assure you, if that hippo starts walking in my direction, I will not be on the dam wall any longer. Why are you walking backwards? Is something hanging from its rear end? What is that? Oh my goodness, everyone, something is happening here. Yeah, it looks like some internal fluid. And she looks, well, I don't actually know if this is a male or female. Looks very, as a female. Oh, it's just given birth! Yeah. No way! Oh my goodness, everybody! We just saw her go down. This calf is literally 5 minutes old. Oh my goodness! We just saw that mother go down. She didn't even give birth in the water. I can't believe this. This is a brand new baby hippo, everyone, and I am talking 5 minutes. We just watched this female. You can see her mammary glands go down, and we thought we need to be really careful because there's a hippo very close to us on land. She's just given birth, literally. Oh my goodness, we're going to get to see this hippo. Oh. as Mama goes down, we're going to go a little bit closer so we can see this youngster go in the water for the first time. You ready, Impo? Mama's going down. Now, I know it's windy, everyone. I'm so sorry. I can't believe this. Impo, put your thumb in front of the camera. There we go. That literally just happened, everyone, because we saw her and I thought, oh, we need to be careful. There's a hippo on the wall. I need to be very in tune to what she's doing. And the lions are just over there. Yeah, I'm not going to get too close. I just want to see this youngster go in the water for the first time. I cannot believe this. Congratulations, Mama. You just gave birth. Is this okay? I need to give space. Remember, this is a new Mama. Oh!
And I can start making your way on my space and look at the visual. It's just on the eastern side of the lodge by the Ngova. Is that Ngova now somewhere?
I cannot believe this, everyone. It's going to suckle. It's about to suckle for the first time, I think, underwater. Dawn, unbelievable. And we have a time because we saw her walk alone over to the other side of the dam wall. She was just given birth. And obviously she came up, she was acting very strange. There was fluid hanging from clearly her rear end, her genitalia. It looked like birthing fluid. And Dawn, next thing there's a youngster. Born remarkably precocial, I must say. Straight into the water, truly amphibious. I mean, after an 8-month gestation period, that's pretty normal for young to be precocial. Safari kitty, I agree, such a beautiful blessing. I mean, I have no words. That was really special. I've never seen a hippo that young before. And naturally, because it was on land, we could really see. And you can see Mum's. This is very precious. And there's another hippo right in front of her, watching. You could see the calf was covered in birthing fluid, and you can see... Okay, Mom, you just look after that little one. And you could really see her mammary glands. It's not always obvious in a hippo because they are such huge animals that you can see that. You see her just walking around, walk, walk, walk. Kelly, you're saying baby's first bath. Yes, and it won't be the last one. You are now going to live in a ginormous bath. And that just shows you, you know, we see hippos every day, yeah, at the damn hippo, but you've really got to pay attention. I was aware of her. Impo and I had a conversation about her before going live because I could see that she went down out of the water into the drainage, and I thought, okay, that's fine, but I need to be aware of that. And it's just amazing that she popped back up 5 minutes later and was a little bit in distress. Not distress, just uncomfortable. She's just given birth, of course. Oh, this is so sweet. I think we can go a little bit closer now. Just a little bit. Now that she's in the water. Just so we can get nice views of this literally day-old baby. It just happened. Said that hippos normally give birth in the water. That's what I teach people. That's what I talk about. And we've just witnessed that she did not. Congratulations, you beautiful thing. Okay, I'm going to stay here. There's a lot of new hippo calves that we see, but wow, this is the youngest and the smallest I've ever seen. Heather, you're asking how much would that calf weigh? That's a very good question. I think hippo calves generally come in at anywhere between 60 to 100 pounds. But this one looked very small. Its legs were not quite, they were a bit wobbly, covered in birthing fluid. My goodness, oh wow. I think I'm going to go back home now. Is that okay, Mel? Put my feet up. My day is made. Oh, you are so tiny. Look at the size difference. Look what they grow into. That's my first. I've seen that before, but that was a first for me. Oh, kisses for Mom. I might have to take an illegal photo at some point, everybody, because I just need to remember this moment forever. We can all remember it. There we go. It's not illegal, but you don't want to listen to us taking photos live, but I can't forget this sighting. I need to have it stored in my hard drive. You can see she's standing guard. And again, it just shows you how shallow the dam is. That's literally what we were talking about, the depth of the dam, when we saw this hippo on the dam wall. When any youngster is born, all they really know is mom. All that calf knows is mom. So staying close to mom. Everything's new. It's brand new to this world. I've got a random Scottish girl up there talking about me, but all you know as a young animal is mom. Okay, we're gonna sit here at this precious sighting a little bit longer. We're in the center of the reserve. It's a much more open area, so a completely different experience. It's also in the afternoon, so just a little bit hot, shall we say. We're following some lion tracks, and then we found the scat of a lion cub. So we didn't see the lions, but we decided to leave the area. It was getting a bit too dense and a bit too thick. So we've come all the way down to the water hole to have a little break, and then we're going to keep walking and see what else we can find. And TJ himself actually reminded us at the start of the walk that when you're on the vehicle, it's all about observing. But when you're on a walk, it's all about immersing yourself in nature, being part of the ecosystem. And that's exactly what happened today.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
I'm still in absolute shock, everyone. Births are not a common thing to see out here, of course. It's an intimate process for a female, and it leaves you very vulnerable, it leaves your offspring very vulnerable. I am more than sure that pain is involved. I mean, it is for humans, we know that, but for many animals, it's tough. And we just witnessed this. It literally just happened. That was very quick because she walked out of the water with obviously no calf. She was getting clearly ready to drop, and within 5 minutes. Oh. Now I'm in a lineup. I may have to get on the radio very shortly to just clarify why I have not shown up for another sighting. They're probably wondering where on earth I've disappeared to. I wonder if the youngsters are suckling. They do suckle underwater. They can close their nostrils, they can fold down their ears, close their eyes, and the only thing they can't really do, my goodness, is stay underwater for a very long time. It's normally about 40 seconds when they're really young. You can see Mama's been really protective, keeping it shallow. Oh, it's getting very cold here. Brian, no. Popped back up again. No. I can't handle this cuteness, guys. I can't handle it. Brian, no. The hippo social structure is harem structure, which means you will have one dominant bull with a group of females, and he will sort of be in charge and mating with them all. So there's no paternal care on some level, but he will protect the offspring, if that makes sense. He will look after them, but he won't play any role in directly raising them. It just shows you don't really want to be out on a cold, windy day like this, but the animals are still going about their lives. Kisses for Mom. she'll just be recuperating now, resting, spending precious moments guarding this little one. Remarkably precocial. Did you see that? Wobbly, yes, very wobbly, but unbelievably precocial. Having the best time. Ooh, we even did a little dolphin kick there. We're now being a dolphin. That's good. This has made my day. I'm shivering. After all that big talk about being brave in the weather, I'm now shivering. This has made... I've never seen anything like that, everyone. I really am blown away at the magic that just happened in front of us. Okay, we didn't see the actual birth, but I can assure you, by the time we looked at that hippo, it was a minute old. You could see it was covered in a sort of mucus, the birthing process, and it wasn't walking very well. And immediately Mom got it into water. It's fascinating. Because sometimes you can only read what you see in a textbook. Very often textbooks are fantastic tools, but they'll give the average tenure of a lion coalition is this. But sometimes you gotta just spend more time out here in the wild and actually see it. You can read a lot that hippos will get burned in the water. That did not happen in the water. You will also hear that Mom will keep calf very, very separate. Maybe possibly, but there's hippos. Is a Rhino who's gone under the water. So it's just sometimes wonderful to see things for yourself. And hippos are mammals, so they do lactate. The youngsters do suckle, then they are weaned. It's just because they spend a lot of time in water that we sort of forget that they are actually a mammal. If you think about it, this birth is sort of coincide with the onset of the wet season, the onset of summer, when the vegetation is going to flourish. It's already started to change. So with the more rain that we receive, which is coming, the entire landscape is going to flourish. I know the wind is howling, everyone. I'm really not. It's a very strong wind. I've got my head ducked down, but I'm not entirely sure it's going to make a difference. I'm very aware of it. So a lot of births will take place coinciding with an abundance in food, be it impala lambs, be it onset of summer for vegetation's flourish, be it when the buffalo drop their calves. You want your offspring to be successful. You don't want them to be born in a dry, harsh, cold winter where there's not much food. Renata, a lot of people seem to think that crocodiles are these terrifying sort of, I'm going to go for any hippo that I can find animals, but actually they're not. Now, they are very, very opportunistic, and Tristan once had a sighting here at Chitwa Dam. It was awful. It was one of the worst sightings I've ever seen, and it was when a male killed a calf. A male hippo killed a young calf, and it was very disturbing, and I won't go into the details, but he basically rendered the calf immobile. He broke all its limbs and it wasn't able to sort of move anymore, so it wasn't dead, but it was just lying at the water's edge. Then the croc came and seized it. So yes, they absolutely will take any opportunity that comes their way, but a king crocodile is not going to actively seek out this calf, especially with his mother on guard. Now, if all the hippos left the water, left this little calf on its own, then possibly a crocodile might take interest, but otherwise it's not going to actively seek out this little calf, if that makes sense. Woo! They predominantly eat fish, really. They just will take any other opportunity that comes their way. Okay, this was very precious. We may move shortly because the wind is really starting to tamper with us. But thank you for sharing that incredible moment with me, and we are going to send you over to Erin.
Sure, what a special moment that sounds like. Really cool to see. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a brand new hippo calf, so well done, Lauren. We did have a relatively good view of these impalas, and unfortunately they have started to move into the bushes, but the reason why I decided to stop here is that a bit earlier on we were looking at a herd of impala rams, a bachelor herd, and this is on the other spectrum, so this is all the females. And one of the things that stood out to me initially was how many of these impala ewes had their heads up, and they were looking around a lot more attentively than the rams were. You can see there is one there that is staring straight at us still, and she hasn't really averted her gaze for a while. Maybe it's worth me creeping a bit more forward, I don't know. See, we might not be able to get a good view of them now that they're moving into the thicket, but we might as well try. We're on the boundary, so we've got reports from the Manyaleti that somewhere along the Manyaleti boundary there have been a pack of wild dogs that have crossed in and are heading south. Nobody's quite sure exactly where, so there are quite a few people that are out and looking, so we're checking our boundary to see whether or not they have come. Yeah, there we go, that's a relatively good view. So you can see there's quite a lot of them there, and you'll see, I mean, most of the time they will be feeding, but it won't be long until they pick up their head and look around. And it might just be because we're here, but I think it's also got to do with the wind. And they are looking and facing straight at us with the wind at their backs. So these impalas, I think, we're back on one of the fire breaks, and they're coming to feed on the new growth, and I'm sure they would be quite nervous. I was just saying that they're kind of facing in the direction that the wind is blowing, so they can see what's coming downwind of them. it's blowing so strong now that they'll probably be able to hear something. The only thing that they'll be worried about is their sense of smell, I guess. And gusty wind like this, the central can blow from all directions, especially when you follow the wind in these thicker areas. There are eddies that tend to be created, especially around larger trees and big bushes, and so the wind will almost spiral, and you can get an effect of a wind, although it is quite constant. It might be moving in close to about 180 degrees. I will just back up a bit. There was it looked like a purple roller that flew off of the ground. It flew into that marula tree. There is, what is there? There's a couple of birds that look like fork-tailed drongos, but there was a purple roller, but okay. Can you see the fork-tailed drongo, the hat in the middle of the tree? If you go, oh, there you see it's flying now. Okay, so there go the fork-tailed drongos, but I don't know where that purple roller went to. I mean, the birds also must suffer in this wind. If they fly too high, they could get blown into a different country that's blowing so fast. We are on the boundary, like I mentioned, and we don't have too long to go until we start to get to the end of the property, but I think it's worth us still checking. I mean, it's such a strong wind. If these wild dogs were still moving and looking to hunt, there's a strong potential that they can cover ground unbelievably fast. So I think it's worth just hanging around like a vulture on the boundary, just to see if they haven't been successful. You know, moving through an area looking for a herd of impala is exactly what they'll be after. And I think with these windy conditions, it might be quite easy for them to create panic. And as soon as there's panic and they isolate one impala, they stand a good chance of catching it. Sure. Okay, so we'll just stop here again. There's a really nice big herd of impala. It's much bigger than I thought initially. And I'm sure it's just trying to stay together, safety in numbers. There's even a small little steenbok who is here. Let's go over to Lauren quickly.
Sorry, dude.
Yes?
Yes, sis.
5.
AFC, come in.
I see you asking for a quick. I've asked for a link.
We're with the Nkahumas. We got into the lineup. And I have to say, it's a little bit of a relief to be away from that extremely strong wind, I must say. It was blowing our hats off. And I don't actually know how many lions are here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Mel, are you hearing us? We can hear you say live. gotta love it when lions do that. And I'm gonna move. Mel, can you just confirm all is good? There's one more. Mel, can you confirm if we're live? Look at the mane on you.
Apologies about that. These things happen sometimes when we are broadcasting live in the African bush. I'm sure we'll figure out those issues and get you straight back to those lions that Lauren has just found. Yeah, I mean, in the meantime, we were just about to go along our boundary, and like I said, we don't have too long to go, so it's just up on top of that crest, and then we'll cut back in an easterly direction. There was just a battalier that was flying over us, and look, sometimes, I mean, it's a bit of a reach, but sometimes these wild dogs, when they're moving around, they get followed by these birds of prey, waiting for them to make a kill. And so we just thought we would sit for a little bit and just see what that battalier was up to. And it's amazing how skillful they are when they are flying around in this wind. And it must be quite challenging because it's so gusty. The level of control that they need is insane. And to make matters harder, they don't have that tail that will help stabilize their flight. So all of their adjustments need to be made by their wing. So they must be very skilled, and I'm sure their wings are very sensitive, so they're able to pick up the slightest bit of wind change, and their reaction time must also be quite crazy for them to react in a way that they would like to. So we have a pair of Birchall starlings around this area. They're down on the ground doing exactly the same thing that we saw the other pair of Birchall starlings doing. You can also see the signs of the buffalo, all of the dung that they left behind. So this is where they had crossed over the property back into Buffelshoek, probably sometime throughout the day yesterday. We saw them early yesterday morning, and then by the time afternoon came, they had gone. And in weather like this, I guess they'll be hunkering down. They'll also stick in a very nice tight group, try find a drainage line or somewhere sheltered and just wait out the weather. So I was mentioning, it was last night, one of the reasons why we put these fire breaks in is to prevent the off chance of a runaway fire coming through. And fire is a tool that humans have been using for centuries. And there's actually two types of fires that we utilize when we are managing an area like this. The first one is a cold fire, so it's set in temperatures where it's not too hot and there's quite a cool, slow breeze. And that's just to try and remove all of the moribund, and that's just basically dead material that has accumulated over the years. So that's things like dead grass. So grass gets to a certain height and then it just falls off and falls onto the ground. And that can build up over a number of years, especially after good rains, and even fallen over trees like we're seeing now. You can see there's trees that have fallen down, and those branches will then also just sit and dry out, and that just adds more fuel and makes it harder to manage if there is a runaway fire here. So putting through that burn will clear that up, clear a lot of the moribund up. And with all of that, it just brings quite a lot of calcium and nitrogen and everything back into the soil to allow nice green shoots of grass to grow, just like we can see right here.
Sea Forest is a brand new experience on the WildEarth channel. Freedivers will explore the great African sea forest in Cape Town, while naturalists explain what we are seeing.
Like trees in a forest, these kelp provide food and shelter for many, many species.
Magical encounters with shy marine life, crustaceans, seals, and so much more will all bring a window of calm into an otherwise chaotic world.
We had a very exciting start to our morning this morning. Today, it's our guided sunrise safari with Mike, and we started by looking at the moon through a telescope, which was incredible. It's been a very different drive from all the other ones, very interactive.
Your pigeal gland is something the hoopoes have in common.
Hi. This morning's drive with Mike was thoroughly enjoyable. He really engaged us, but we also did some birding, and I managed to add a few new birds onto my list. Overall, every single experience with all the competitors has been really incredible, but it's up to the judges now.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially Sabi and Cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Having the most loveliest interaction. This is Purple Eye, guys, at the back on the left. And she's limping. She's got her back right leg raised. You see, she's not putting weight on it. So good to see Purple Eye. I haven't seen her in a while. Hey, girl. She is putting weight on it. Okay, she's definitely limping. They're all on the move. It's so good to see them. I can't believe how big the cubs are getting. I know I keep saying that, but it's quite a process watching animals grow up from cubs into adults. But they have gone up this termite mound, so let me see if I can just reposition. There we go. I'm gonna get better views of them. How How's that, Impo? You happy? Yeah, he's now happy. What a drive we've been having, watching a hippo give birth and now having the Nkahumas back in town. And we're literally at Chitwa Dam, exactly where the 3 females with the cubs had the buffalo. On the eastern side, they're exactly here, and they were sniffing around that patch. So I think they know that that's where the others are. The boys are getting so big, it's just, yeah, it's precious. Is that purple eye climbing to the top? Wants to be at the top of the throne. Yep. And just like for leopards, termite mounds are great vantage points. It's not just the leopards that sort of make use of termite mounds. It might even be a bit warmer. And they're awake. Normally lions would be flat right now, and it's because of the conditions. So that's the one good thing about this type of weather. We just don't get to see the Nkahumas like we used to. We used to see them on a daily basis. If you were not able to track the Nkahumas, it was a problem. I'm teasing. But we saw them, okay, maybe not on a daily basis, but a weekly basis. Absolutely. So now it's a treat. Because we know them so well, they're so familiar. And naturally, there's new additions to the 3 mothers that we had the other night. We're watching temper tantrums. And of all the mothers, you've got the originals lioness, you've got the tattered-eared lioness, and the pale-eyed lioness. So they've obviously split from this sort of group for now with the 7 cubs. And I don't actually know what property they're on. I think they were on Cheetah Plains yesterday, and I haven't heard anything this morning. But they know, they can smell this area, and they absolutely know that those 3 were here. 100%. And the new cubs, all 7, are very young. I mean, the 3 of the oldest new ones belong to Reginald's daughter. Then the middle litter belong to the pale-eyed lioness. And these 2 litters were born in a very similar period of time towards the end of April. I hope you're following. Then the 2 youngest are the tattered-eared lionesses cubs, and they were born in early May. And Freya, you're asking about the youngest. I am not sure. I think it's the pale-eyed. It's either pale-eyed or Reginald's daughter. I know that some of you will know the answer. You can help me out here. In terms of all the new mothers, it's either pale-eyed or Reginald's daughter that's actually the youngest out of them, but I don't know. So anyway, all of these cubs are very, very young at this stage. They're mobile. They're very much moving with the adults now. But as you saw, they're still very, very young. Okay, they're going up, which is actually better for us. We're in this dip where Rusty, for some reason, doesn't get signal, and it's a bit of a comms. It's very difficult for us in comms. This is a Mulwanini. Goes straight from Chitwa Dam all the way up Torchwood. But as soon as we turn this corner, all is going to improve. And this Mulwanini just happens to be where we have all these incredible sightings. Place. These guys, we've got a cuddle.
Probably. Yeah, so we decided to move away from the bound. I mean, not move away from the boundary, but move away from where we were waiting. And we are going through one or two little dips and crests. So I hope that our signal is pass, and then we turn right, and then we'll
just give a thumbs up. She's going to drive me crazy. Crazy, crazy. Look at this, guys. Cuddle puddle. Kind of. I mean, they're a bit too big for a cuddle puddle, but you know, they're all huddled together because, of course, it's cold. These animals absolutely will feel the cold, 100%. I mean, they're equipped for it. Their hair will get thicker. They've got that warm coat. But just like us, they want to shelter from the wind. No one wants to really be exposed to the wind. But they're awake. If the rest of the pride are on Cheetah Plains, that's not too far. That's next door to Chitwa in an easterly direction. So in terms of lions and lion movement, that's really not too far. So that I went through the sort of run through of the new Cubs. Now I know some of you might not know the Nkahuma Pride, and that's also okay if you're new and you don't know, and some of you do, some of you know more than I do, and that's also okay. But back in 2019 we had the most phenomenal year, really. We had originals having 2 boys first, and that was around May 2019. If the dates are slightly off, I do apologise, I'm pulling this. And that was Rich Nosey's second litter, because the daughter, that's now the mother, the new Cubs, was in her first litter. Are you all following? Then we had Amber Eyes, good old Amber Eyes, who ended up having 4 Cubs. 3 were female and 1 was male. And this was around July 2019. Then we had Purple Eye, who you've just seen. She ended up having 3 boys that were born around August 2019, so I'm doing it in order. And that was her second litter, and 1 died very, very quickly. I know that much at the time. And then it was Chilla. That was the one that I found, the 4 of them with BK, and she had 4 Cubs. And this was in December 2019, so you can see how staggered it is. It went from May to July to August to December. I remember Chilla being really late. She did lose 3 Cubs. Now, one of the sub-adult males, unfortunately, died not so long ago. He was really injured, severely injured in his back leg, and it just meant that he got left behind. He became weak. He just wasn't able to keep up. And I'm not sure if that was Reginald's son or not. I'm not sure which male it was. So they have suffered loss, but they've also done incredibly well to retain onto all of these cubs. Now they're sub-adults, they're not cubs anymore, my goodness. And of course there's now a new generations of little one come in. They're all watching something. I can't see anything. Barbara, you're saying you love the sub-adult's little mane. I know, it's very sweet. It really makes it easy to tell the difference between male and female, because sometimes when they're very young cubs, you obviously have to look for genitalia. But at this stage, there is absolutely no need to look for genitalia, and it's just sort of fluffing through at the side of their face and down their chest. It's very sweet. I wish I knew what you were watching. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them are all looking at something. Ah, it's Impala. It's the Impala TV show. Now I got you. Now I'm sure many of you will ask for body cam. I can see... I can see 10. And they're all watching the Impala TV show. Glued to the TV screens, look at them. Days of our lives, Impala style. We sometimes call our work here drives of our lives. There's a huge herd. It's far though. They're way up the other side on the Chitwa open area, but that's what they're watching. Many of you are loving this sighting. It's just very precious. Just because just 2 days ago we were catching up with the other lot of Nkohumas. It's just nice to put together all the missing pieces. And this is a pride that I personally spent a lot of time with. This pride were the first animals that I actually met on Djuma with Jamie Patterson when I arrived here on our first bumble. We were with the Nkohumas. And believe it or not, lo and behold, guess where they were on the reserve? Under the Nkohuma tree. The tree that they were named after. It's actually a brown ivory tree, but that's where I first saw the Nkohumas. Nkohumas under the Nkohuma tree. Which is just south of Zoe's, very close to Gowrie, Maine. And it now has quite an iconic gash across it from an elephant. It looks like a scar. It's a very obvious tree, and that's where this pride got their name. And that's where I first ever met them. At least we are sheltered from the wind a little bit. I must say that's the joy. So we are going to sit here and watch the Nkohumas a little bit longer. The lions are very fascinated by these impala, way off in the distance. But you can see them all just watching very intently. And although it's windy, I know, it's just the type of day we are having. We are going to just sit here for a moment or two and enjoy watching our lions as they watch their potential breakfast.
rather chilly. I feel like we've managed to coordinate the Nkohumas for one of the most fabulous family portraits. Thank you guys for being very apologetic. Isn't that beautiful? Look at them all. One's put her head down. No, actually, that's can't see. But we have one sub-adult with his head down. But everyone else is being very picture perfect. There's a zebra there as well, where they're looking. It's not really possible for us to show you, but they're looking at a huge herd of impala, a sea of impala. Someone asked me earlier, I'm terribly sorry, I forgot the name, about the largest impala herd I've ever seen, and I'll need to start counting because I'm really not sure, but the one they're looking at is very large, and there's a zebra there. Maybe there are more than one, but I can only see one. Yes, Lisa, Impala TV is definitely their favourite programme. They do eat a lot of impala. A lot. We just don't really see that because it's over quickly. And you know, this very pride that you're looking at with these sub-adults, I remember it was Boxing Day. Or was it Christmas Day? It was Christmas Day. Anyway, it was with Steve and I 2 years ago, the really amazing Christmas we had, and we spent hours looking for the Nkohumas, hours. We were working it together, and we knew they were there, but we were getting confused. We couldn't see their tracks. So because we couldn't see their tracks, we thought, well, they've not left the block. We both circled the block. One of us did a tight loop, one of us did a wide loop. There are no tracks, so it means they're still inside the block, right? Anyway, through a long process of trying to figure everything out, we realised the road had been dragged in between the drives that day, but we didn't know that. So they had crossed out of that block, but someone had dragged the roads, which means we couldn't see the tracks. So lo and behold, what happened? We decided to go on a bumble at night time for staff to celebrate a little bit. So we all just jumped in the Mahindra and we started going around quarantine, and Steve said, "There's a lion." And of course, it was you guys, wasn't it? Yes, all the Cubs were there. And they caught an impala. They took it down cooperatively. It was a ram. I think it was dark mane. I think it was dark mane that took hold of that carcass, and it got very aggressive very quickly. I've got the videos. I can show you the videos. And the poor cubs, oh, the noise of vocalizations. The cubs were flying in the air. One of the lionesses, I think it was Purple Eye, picked up two cubs by their ears and helicoptered them into the air to get them away from the carcass. And my point is, it was over very, very quickly. An impala is not substantial enough for a pride. For one lion, yes. And you got some hungry sabados here, older lionesses here. It's cold. They're hungry. One impala is not enough, so that's why we rarely see it. I mean, we can see the takedown, but it's just over very, very quickly. Whereas when they take down a much bigger prey species, like a zebra, like even a wildebeest, they're on it for longer because there's more meat to go around. So yes, they're thoroughly enjoying Impala TV, but I don't think that's really what they want. Is it, boy? My goodness, you're so handsome. You are. Look at your amber eyes. Bill, I know, isn't it? It's amazing, and that's why I ran through all the sort of birth dates with you all, because we really have watched this generation grow up, and it got rather sad when the Nkohumas started pushing further down south. Mala Mala, Londolozi, because it meant we couldn't spend time with them, and we followed their journey up until this point. But just when we get to see sightings like this is precious, because we did spend a lot of hours upon hours upon hours watching these cubs grow up.
I had the most incredible sightings with these cubs. Live and also not live when we go on our staff bumbles. I remember being at Purple Eyes Den, and I remember being at Purple Eyes Den later when it became Tandy's Den. They use the same den size because they require the same sort of infrastructure, if you like. I mean, lions and leopards are related. They are part of the Panthera genus, and their cubs are born very altricial. So it was Purple Eyes Den first, and then naturally, months later, Tandy used it with Mareebs. I remember being at Amber Eyes Den. That was a rather awkward one. I remember finding Chella's bundles. We thought there was only 2, and then there were 4. No, I remember it all. And they all denned on Djuma. Every single one of them. Of those litters were all born and denned on Djuma. Mostly in the Mulwati, in the sort of Ngala central Mulwati region. That's where all the dens were. Oh, and Pala TV is just too good. Who's got the remote? That name, please do forgive me. The wind is not so easy to work with. With lions, I think it's more intrinsic than that, personally. So it literally is a sort of domino effect. They're very coordinated here. They're constantly communicating, and they communicate a lot through body language and posturing. It's not all vocal, it's not all chemical, although they live in a chemical world. And it just takes one to get up and show that they're interested, and the rest will follow suit. And I think at this age and the size of the sub-adults, especially those boys, there's 3 of them that I can see so far, they will absolutely initiate hunt. Their body language will say, guys, let's go for it. This is perfect. This impala, let's do it. At this age, definitely. But it's amazing to watch lions hunting. It can be also a very difficult thing to watch in terms of the actual takedown. But they're so coordinated and it's silent. They are solely using body language, and I just find that really fascinating to watch. They understand each other so well. The bonds are so tight, they run so deep, and yes, they do squabble and fight over food, but doesn't everyone? And it's just amazing to see that in action. They're very in tune to one another. They're raised together, so even though they're allo-suckled, even though you can suckle from a lioness, it's not your mother. And that really integrates them. The bonds are very cohesive, tightly bonded to one another. So yes, the sub-adults absolutely would, the lionesses would. They learn from the lionesses. But by this age, my goodness. Started ever so slightly spitting. Excuse me. If it does get any heavier, we will have to batten the hatches at this side. Just make sure nothing gets wet. It's a drizzle right now. I love all the different words you have for rain. Spitting, drizzle, fine mist, torrential. I think we're just going to cover up the car a little bit, just in case this rain gets any heavier.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
The scribe here collected a dry grass, put it next to the water hole as the hippo walks down during the warm of the day to drink the water. When the hippo arrives, he saw quite a very nice grass, an area not to resist to rest. And when the hippo went down to drink the water, and when finished the water, he just lied down. And then, that was the opportunity of the scribe. You know what? Today is my day to pay the revenge.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes! Unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
I got into wildlife filmmaking because of a passion for nature and a notion that I could make a difference. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun. A couple of times per week, we receive some very heartfelt messages from viewers telling us about how WildEarth has made a difference in their life, whether it's helped them through a difficult period or simply helped them to reconnect with nature. I think that's why we do what we do.
Lines that we are dragging behind, so we can't move forward, but obviously we've got a herd of buffalo in front of us, so we can't necessarily get out and move. So reversing might be our best bet. What do you think? Do you think if we reverse, we'll get it out? Okay, so Gert's agreeing with me. Forward first. Okay. That's on the front left there, so we'll watch it closely. I'll just have to edge forward slowly. Okay, great, that works. Sometimes cheapers, if you don't be careful, you can sometimes rip the fuel line, you can pierce the sump, something like that. And so we definitely didn't want that to happen, especially in a big herd of buffalo like we are in now. I was saying a bit earlier when we were trying to find these buffaloes and get a closer view, we were moving through the area, and there were 4 huge buffalo bulls that were right behind the herd, and one had a seriously impressive rack. Okay, what do I do here? Let me try and move. Yeah, so whilst we try and get into a different position and to get a good view of these buffaloes, let's go across to Lauren to see what the lions are up to. There we go, check browsing.
There is a line up here, I'm afraid. It's the Inkohumas after all. And also, it's starting to rain. I don't want to be this far from home. Things are already a little delicate. You don't want any technology to get wet right now. But this has been by far one of the most memorable mornings in Po. Horrendous weather conditions, freezing, but the most beautiful sightings. I wonder if they'll be around this afternoon. There's a chance, but Chitwa's very small. I think it's less than half the size of Djuma, give or take. And you can easily just walk, you know, they can walk about 500 meters east and they'll have crossed out. But still, it leaves great promise for them being around this afternoon. It's amazing the attachment you can feel towards animals and feel towards a pride once you start to really know their history and what they've gone through. I mean, the Ngahuma struggled prior to 2019 with that baby boom. Lost a lot of cubs to white muscle disease. They had mange at one point. It was not an easy time for them, really, and it's just amazing to see how they bounced back. And we're on baby boom number 2. I'm not sure really why they would want to. I mean, we're obviously talking about the females here. The essence of being a lion is being that social part of a unit, and due to the nature of lion prides, they are all interconnected, and there's a lot of relatedness between genetics as well, however close or however distant. Most of them, even though the mothers will give birth to separate litters, it's normally fathered by the same coalition. So it could, in fact, they could all be fathered by the same male. So there's genetic relatedness there, but then very often there's genetic relatedness between the females, even if it's distant cousins. Sorry, I just saw all the impalas run. I thought something was maybe chasing them. I apologise. Or even if they're sisters. So at the end of the day, the pride is your unit. It's your gang. It's your people. It's your homies. And the females need each other, absolutely. Now, the only sort of example I could maybe think of lions joining another pride is when they break up, when they break away. Breakaway prides start very slowly. That's what believed could be possibly happening with the Talamatis right now. And it's a bit of a process. They don't just break apart immediately, and then naturally over time, through different generations, they transform into completely different prides. But I guess, I mean, there could be examples out there of lionesses joining other prides. I mean, you have that example of the wild dog Solo. She made friends with all sorts of different species, including a hyena. So you do get one-off examples of organisms doing things out with the norm, but generally speaking, a pride would not let a foreign lioness come in. She could be a threat to them, she could be a threat to the cubs that they might have. So no. The essence of the pride is being with your unit. But naturally, when a pride gets too big, reach the carrying capacity for that pride, and it's not really sustainable. I mean, imagine if you saw a pride of 40 lions. It's not really sustainable. It would be more beneficial and efficient for them to split into 2 prides of 20. Now that's just a hypothetical situation, but and that's why prides do split up and you get breakaway prides. We're going to just sit here for a little bit longer with our sleepy Ngahuma pride. We're just going to listen for a little bit. Most of them have stopped watching the impala and they put their head down. It's time to sleep. They've been up all night. We're just going to watch them for a moment or two and try and listen above the wind to all the sounds going on around. lions are going to now officially go into a very deep sleep. And hopefully they'll be around later.
We managed to get to these buffaloes before they cross the boundary. So this is the cheetah cut line that they are heading towards. So they did change direction slightly, and I mean, if you compare the behavior to when we were watching them the other day, when they were slowly feeding through the area, they were all spread out. It now looks like they're in a formation in a way. They maybe up to about 7 or 8 abreast, and they're all just walking, and you can see it by the way that they're just crossing the road. Like, they're literally just keeping up with one another, and they're in a long line. So if we were to have drone footage of this, it would be a line that stretches probably a few hundred meters, and they're not wasting any time. You know, they don't want to fall behind, and so they're all just walking at that same pace. There's one buffalo bull here that's actually got a piece of branch stuck to its horn. Yeah, so I mean, we were with that herd of buffalo, and we had gotten into, I think, a similar position, and we were there for, I would say, close to 45 minutes to an hour or so. We've been here less than 5 minutes, and we are already at the back end of the herd. So that just shows you how much faster they're moving today compared to the other day. Definitely got the potential to pierce another buffalo with those horns. When buffaloes fight, it tends to be males usually, and they'll go head on head. And males have got a big boss, so it acts like a helmet that protects their brain casing to prevent brain injury and concussion. And so they smack each other with those horns. So they tend to not really pierce one another too much, but if one gets the better of another one and it pushes and it forces the other one to buckle, and the one that's buckling turns and reveals its flank to the one, you never know, it could get caught by the horn of the big buffalo bull that's winning the fight. So it is definitely a possibility. You see that one on the termite mound there? So there's one that almost looks like it's walking on top of the buffalo's backs. It's so much taller, but it's just on a termite mound grazing around the grass that's growing on the termite mound. You know, I think definitely with lions is a good example of these buffaloes. And when a lion gets it wrong and they don't grip the buffalo by the throat or the nose effectively enough, a buffalo can swing around with its head and toss the lion into the air, and that's quite easy for a buffalo to pierce a lion's hide. Now that they're all moving through, I think there's only a couple left to cross. I am going to move forward and we can just watch them disappearing before we carry on with our morning. In the distance there I can even see a big waterbuck bull that's also with the herd of buffalo, probably more by chance than anything else. Okay, so here we go. So honestly, there are, I mean, it's just amazing how many there are, because I thought we were only seeing one part of the herd, and then we come around the corner and then there's a whole different, I mean, another 200-300 buffalo bulls that we can see here. So quite a nice thing that we've actually been watching is, I mean, buffaloes are known to be almost exclusively grazers, so they feed on grass 99% of the time, but on the odd occasion they do browse, and we can actually show you one browsing right now. So it's a cow who's just decided to take a couple of bites off of a tree. And that's what they tend to do. They move towards a tree, they feed on it for a couple of seconds at a time, and then they carry on with their grazing. And that usually happens when there's not a lot of nutrients left in the grass. So they'll supplement their diet a little bit with leaves, but it's not something that you see very often at all. So Matthews, I can actually quickly show you on the map where we are. You're asking how far they are away from the Nkuhumas. So we are, it might be a bit more challenging with this wind. I'm going to have to use two hands to hold it. But we are on Cheetah Cut Line here, and they are now moving. So they came from Buffelshoek Dam, and now they're crossing somewhere here into Torchwood, and the Nkuhumas are in Chito somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where, but so that's it there. So they're moving. They're not moving directly towards the lions. They are moving more in a parallel fashion. But with them needing water, I mean, they might end up heading down towards either Chito Dam. There's Djuma Dam somewhere down here in this area. So you never know. They might encounter one another. At this stage, I think it's a bit too far for us to clearly say that these buffaloes are heading straight in that direction. Alright, there are a couple that are moving along the road there, so let's rather head in that direction. Head down the road towards those buffaloes. You know, you would imagine that if those lions were to encounter such a big herd of buffalo like this one, the lions would stand very little chance of being successful. But if there are those bulls that are hanging a bit further back, or in this wind, if the herd panics and one gets separated, then it makes it a bit easier for the Nkuhumas to go after and successfully kill one of these buffaloes. But I must say, it's still a tall order. I mean, even a female buffalo can weigh, 500, 600 kilograms. There's one female here on the right who's missing a horn. I actually got asked a question the other day if buffaloes ever lose their horns and if they ever grow back. And here's a pretty good example of one who's lost her horn, and it doesn't really look like it is growing back. But she is unfortunately looking like she's quite an old girl. Again, browsing, just a quick little bite off of the leaves. And you can see, I mean, you can actually see her whole scapula. You can see her shoulder blade, her ribs, you can see her pelvic bone. She's losing lots of hair, so not in the best condition, unfortunately. few that are quite curious now. They've turned to look at us and just seeing what we're up to. Looks like one female and a group of older calves, so there's some juveniles. There seems to be a lot more calves within this part of the herd than the one that we were seeing a bit earlier. There's one buffalo with a whole bunch of white down its bum. What is that? Is that an old scar? But you know, it is quite amazing to see them and to see how many there are. Because I mean, I kept seeing it, sort of telling you, and it's quite difficult to capture a moment like this with a huge herd of buffalo. But we're lucky that we've got this road and clearings on either side where we can see them crossing. It's amazing, they just keep coming. I think that if we were to take the start point, so the buffalo that's in the front, and draw a straight line to the buffalo that's at the back, I think it would probably stretch over 1 kilometer long. It's quite interesting to see there. So that one cow and her calf is actually quite an interesting adaptation. But anyway, whilst we wait for these buffaloes to move on and we probably go find something else, let's go see what Lauren's up to.
Guys, you will not believe it. I've found the den and there are tiny little Hina Cubs here. I cannot believe this. Impo, you are my cameraman every single day now. Okay? This is in Ngwazi. I am sure this youngster's in Ngwazi. I've not been able to identify the den. People just helped us out. And apparently the cubs are tiny. This drive has been too much. Too much. Now, any of you hyena are a mother again? It was thought for a while, is Comet trying to court her? Has she given birth? I don't know what's happening. I can't believe this. Well, everyone, you know where I'm going to be spending the entire 4 hours this afternoon. We're going to be here. Now, everyone, you're going to ask me questions. I know this. Okay, Impo, now I'm going to have to keep the map down here, I'm afraid. Hello, Ngwaz. That's definitely you, my boy. Yes. Okay. This is Gowrie Main. We've just come from Chitwa. We're in along Gowrie Main, going up Twin Dams. Now, this is Elephant Carcass, the red dashed line. But you see before that red dashed line, there's actually a blue line. That's a drainage line. Now, it doesn't mean that there's water, but it is a drainage system. Now, we are just... I'm going to use my feather to pinpoint this. This den is just here. And I did not know about this den, so this is either a brand new den on Djuma or one that we just never ever found out about. I cannot believe this. I can't believe it. I'm just going to reverse a little bit. Is that Ribs? Ribs, is that it? Is you, girl? Ribbon, have you given birth? Ribbon? You did not tell me about this. I'm still slightly baffled. So what I'm now going to do is reverse a little, show you where the entrance hole is. Hi, Ngwaz. This is another cub, this one, Ngwazi, Ribbon's son, who was born in March, so he's now 1.5 years. March 2020. This is another cub that I've followed since birth. Ribbon does look very full. Her mammary glands are very swollen. I mean, she's a matriarch after all. And it's funny because Michael sent me a message and he said something's going on with Ribbon. So this must be the dentrance then. Now remember, this is a new mound for me as well. I'm not familiar with this mound. And that may sound really, really silly, but like when you spend more time at a hyena den, a misikaya, you will start to learn the dentrance, the exits, the hidey holes, the platforms, how they go in, how they sleep. Okay, so that must be the dentrance. Wanna go forward? I cannot believe this. This morning has literally been mind-blowing. Okay, we are going to sit here with the Queen and her son a little bit longer.
The WildEarth channel now runs for 24 hours a day and is filled with exciting wildlife experiences for the whole family. In addition to our twice-daily live safaris from Africa, we launched Sea Forest. Free divers explore the great African kelp forest under the water in Cape Town, while naturalists on the surface explain what we are seeing in real time. Our Escape to Nature series features exceptional wildlife footage throughout the day, and here you can immerse yourself in the sights and sounds of nature. And finally, we are launching a brand new penguin experience later this month, where you can follow the lives of a group of African penguins daily and in real time. If you want to join in on these experiences, then head over to wildearth.tv/channel to see where you can watch. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
It's day one of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition, and our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
Either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river, it's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that! How beautiful, look at that! One crossing, 2 to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Everyone, I just really cannot believe this. And Ngwazi's still with his mama. Shambulu's no longer with us. That's how tight that relationship is as well. I mean, we followed Tswazi for a long time, but his mother Pretty died, so that's why he's always been a bit aloof and following all the other females. But Ngwazi's with his mom. And it's funny because I've not seen Ribbon in a very long time, and I've missed her dearly. Ribs, did you miss me? I think that's a no. But I wonder, when an animal goes off the grid like Kalamba, you've got to start thinking, why all of a sudden are we not seeing this animal? We're seeing her son, we're seeing all her clanmates, but not her, and I wonder if she's been denning. But apparently, according to the anti-poaching team, who have been ever so helpful to the crazy Nisi lady, they're only about 2 days old. I'm going to be here the whole afternoon, guys. We're not going to move. I'm going to set up a little tent, have snacks, tea. I'm going to wait for these cubs to come out. Ribbon's, if we can just zoom in on Ribbon's rear end and I know it's not very pleasant, but she looks very full. And as I mentioned, Ngwazi's now 18 months. I think Ribbon's got cubs. You see that? She's full. What a drive. Very unexpected drive, catching up with the Nkuhumas, watching a brand new hippo calf be born into the world, and finally finding that den. And I would have never found it yesterday. I was not looking in the right place. I can't believe this. Oh, this is going to make the next stint so wonderful to follow Hina Cubs again. I don't know how many there are. I think he said 2. And this really makes sense why Ribbon's been out of action. But a matriarch, remember, she's got it easier than the others. She's in a good position. She gets access to food. Hyenas bow down to her. She gets more resources. She's in better physical condition. As a matriarch, you want to reproduce more often because you're in a position of power. So naturally, I think the cubs are inside. I mean, if they are very, very young, they'll be sleeping right now, especially on a cold and windy day. I do need to get breakfast, but you know me, I'll be back. I'll stay here all day with you guys. And the hyena den magic, everyone, is about to start once again. I know many of you have missed it dearly, as have I, and it's about to start once again. So stay tuned for this afternoon. I think it's going to be a really good drive. But this morning was absolutely amazing. Thank you, everyone, for jumping on board. Despite the wind, we made it. So Impo and I are going to head home, but please do have the best of days, and we shall see you this afternoon. Goodbye for now.